Hi guys, this week I have got another fairly classic Mini to restore.
Gruffy Crow.
Okay, I don't really think of this guy as, he's certainly not old hammer. To me this is still a fairly modern miniature. It came out after I started playing, but it is a few years old now. I did own one of these. I still have most of the parts, but I did a load of conversions to it. When I saw this one cheap, I thought it'd be nice to have one built up sort of correctly. So there's a lot of old glue and stuff on here. Someone's tried, I think, maybe some little bit of green stuff in there. It's not been put together the best. And obviously the paint job that there is wrecked. So that one will need to come off. Possibly looking at this, it almost looks like someone's tried to strip it before, because that's kind of rough. I don't know, they might have just used bad paint. Also, it was never cleaned up, so we've still got all the vent marks here. But I think overall it looks in pretty good nick. There's no damage or anything to any of the parts, so it should clean up alright. First stage, as ever, is the nail varnish remover. Now this is looking pretty grimy in there actually. I probably need to refresh that, but it should still have enough. Oh, it stinks. Yeah, it still have enough power to get this guy clean. I'm just going to pop the bits in there, and even after a few seconds, you can see it's already got to work on the gold used on here. Literally 2 or 3 seconds, and that's already coming away. I'm sure the black will be a lot tougher though. So I'll leave that in there for probably a day or two. Let's face it, I'll probably forget he was even in there for a while. Okay, I've got this guy all cleaned up now, and he looks good as new. I'm going to have interesting time cleaning up this model, because you can see the previous owner never even removed the little bits of flash like this. It's amazing how many of these refurbs that I do where you still find these little bits. But yeah, now I've got the painting off, the moulding all looks good. It looks nice, crisp. One of these. In fact, it might even be better than the one I had before. So next choice is going to be the bases. So I've dug out some bits and pieces here. I've got some pretty much brand new ones, and I've got a used one. Now I'm looking at him and I'm thinking I want this sort of straight across. I don't know. So I was thinking I want a straight across base like this one. He's going to stand straight on. He's going to be absolute murder to rank up, I think, isn't he? But I want to kind of do him justice and give him a new base, because I've got a straight across Games Workshop one. So I don't really want to give him one of these sort of off-brand bases. I'm kind of funny about bases when it comes to that. I've got a nice old GW Mini. I, for some reason, feel the need to give it a nice old GW base. So I'm going to go with one of these new diagonals, but I'm going to use this bottom strip here, and I'm going to cut that out. Won't be too much hassle with a scalpel. And then I've got my sort of slightly crappy old snips. Yeah. He sort of stood up on this little sort of gap here. It's kind of giving me an idea actually. Do you know what? Now I'm thinking about ranking up, I am going to make him go diagonal. This is one of the joys of round bases, and why I've gone for round bases even for square base games like Oathmark. Because it means you don't have to spend this much time thinking about ranking up and orientations and stuff like that. Do you know what? I'm not even going to glue that. There we go. So I've test fitted all these pieces. I'm pretty happy with them. I use this bottle's almost dead now. Cap's all caved in, but use this off eBay, industrial super glue. And normally that, I think, with these contact points, they're quite snug. I'm not going to worry too much about pinning or any of that, because I think this is going to hold together perfectly well with a few dabs of this. Because the top's knackered, I'm just going to put some on there and then use a cocktail stick just to apply that sort of into the neck hole. Take this opportunity just to quickly smooth that down. Also, the freshly filed bits will give it some little abrasions to sort of stick into in the glue. I'm going to do the same on the arm. Actually, I'm just going to dip that in the glue. There we go, perfect amount. And under there. Okay, that doesn't fit maybe as well as I'd like. There's definitely a little gap. I think this is meant to be flesh here. So there's a bit of gap between the arm and the armour. A little dab of green stuff in there will fix that. With the shield, we've got quite a big sprue attachment point, so I'm going to use my old snips again. Trim that away. And then get the file in and completely get rid of it. Got it all smoothed away now. Do the same again, take a little bit of this glue, put it around the joint. There's not many positions this really fits in. Oh, bollocks. There you go, and I think he will actually look quite good ranked up like that. That's why we wanted to smooth out the bottom of this shield, because you will actually see the inside of his shield. It is going to require a couple of little sausages of green stuff around the top of each arm. Around the neck should be fine. Like I said, I think this is gonna, once this super, but like I said, once it's super cute. But like I said, I think once this super glue is completely cured, these pieces are gonna hold in just fine. It's actually quite a cool, impressive model. Better than I remember it being back in the day. And here he is, fully undercoated. And I think that almost brings out the detail more. You can really appreciate the crispness of this cast. So like I normally start off paint jobs, we're gonna start with a big brush and a base paint. We're going to have a pretty straightforward colour scheme on this guy. We're going to go for sort of red and brass and black and bone, obviously. Although it is going to be a fairly straightforward colour scheme, I want to try and do quite a good job, and I want to try and get the colours nice, because I think I'm going to use this model as a sort of template for when I refresh this square base Chaos Warrior army. So I complain actually about people not sorting out little mould lines and things, but look at these tusks. They've still got those sort of little annoying folded over bits on the end. So if I saw these on a model I was stripping, I'd be all smug and superior about it, but it looks like I missed them too. There you go, that'll do, and I also missed a little spot there. I'm not going to respray this. I'm hoping that a nice thin coat of this applied with the BL brush will be sufficient to keep it undercoated. We're going straight out of the pot. Nice big brush. In. We're getting all of these nooks and crannies. There we go, something a bit like that. I've just broke out this Tempe Chinese brush, because there's a lot of tiny little holes and nooks and crannies. I can really jab this in without worrying about damaging it. Now this is kind of the opposite way around to the way I do Chaos Warriors normally. I had taken to doing the metal and then going and filling in all the red, which I'm still not sure might not have been the best plan. Which means you can sort of dry brush the metal, and it's almost less fiddly that way. But I'm going to continue with this for now. Okay, so we've got a few ways that I could consider doing the metal. They're all going to start probably with some of this warp block bronze, and then I'll probably go with this. And I want to try and get that kind of colour, and then I might highlight that then with a bit of that. I think that'll give me that kind of worn but like more bronzy look. Like the cheat option would be to use this Retributor armour, but that can sometimes come across a little bit gaudy, whereas this is a much richer colour. So yeah, let's see how we do with those. We're not there yet though. I think before we do any highlights, because I'm going to be using this Kato Red, I actually want to wash this. I actually want to have the dark recesses very dark, I think. I've got 2 pots of earthshade here. Now this one is old and sort of evaporated, and I bet you any money this one is about twice as dark as this one now. If I was going to do something to make it look really grubby and do some line shading, I'd probably use up what's in this old pot. But for a fairly even sort of fresh look, I'm going to use a brand new pot. And look already, we're already pulling out some of those sort of lines around the outsides of the metal there. Give me some lines to paint in when I'm doing the metallics. I'm looking to make this model fairly grim and dark, so I do want those kind of dark shadows, high contrast. I think it's going to work quite well. Actually, while that is drying, I'm going to jump in with a wet brush now. I'm really going to water down a little bit of this Rhinox hide, daub this on the base. And I'm using it nice and thin so we can get into all the nooks and crannies. That does mean it's going to take a little time to dry, but we're waiting for the top to dry anyway, so it's a good time to do it. Alright, now he's dried off a bit. Just going to sneak in and we're going to go back with the original red, and I'm going to get pretty much all of the panels again, just leaving that darker red in the shadows. There we go, something a bit like that. And we're actually already looking at quite a nice rich red there. But I've got the Khorne red base, and I'm literally going to use this. I think I'm going to try and use it a bit more like a line highlight. So we're going to pick up the edges of all these armour panels, and hopefully that'll give the impression of brighter armour without losing any of this sort of grim darkiness that I like. The exception being these sort of horns, bunny ear things, sort of layer it into the centre bits so it's nice and bright but kind of transitions nicely. Same on the shield actually, I think. It's a nice soft amount of this, just to bring the colour up, but then still kind of line highlight the edge a little bit. Okay, on top of the line highlighting, I am going to use some more of this sort of thin down, just to sort of try and bring a bit of a glow to the inside of some of these panels, because I want it to be sort of punchy. So yeah, not line highlighting then, just a regular sort of highlight. Now I don't know if it's down to my slight colour blindness or something like that, or just preference, but I really like painting red for some reason. Do you know what, I think that's probably enough. There's actually less red on this model than I thought in a way. So let's just block out the rest of the colours we need. I'm currently blocking out a load of the black, so we've got the cloak, the axe handle I'm going to do black. I've also done this spike on this side black for now. I'm also, while I'm here, going to do some battle damage. So we've got some little nicks in the shield, and I'm going to exaggerate those out, draw them in, drawing in some lines, sort of joining them up. I basically want it to look like the bottom of this shield's been sort of scraped and messed with enough that it's become sort of worn out, the paint's chipped off. And this is almost easier to achieve when you have a shield that doesn't have any sort of pre-existing lines like this one. But I'm going to use the ones that are there, extend them out. I do like how clean some of these armor panels are currently looking, but I might just do a little bit on here, similar sort of thing, feather that down that line, and there as well. We're going to use 2 different leathers, so I've already started doing the boots and some of this strapping in, and the strap across his chest in Rhinox hide. I'm going to highlight that up with this XV88, like a mixture. But some of the things, like there's a little pouch there, and some little bits and pieces that I'm going to do purely in the XV88, the strap on the handle of the axe for instance, and some of the sort of bits of leather holding these skulls on. And because I'm using the 2 different tones, I think that'll keep the model more interesting, but because they're both going to be based around this XV88, I think that will still keep it sort of tied together quite nicely. For the bone parts, I'm probably going to use the Xandri Dust Mouth White base, Mouth White highlight that I use for pretty much all this type of stuff. And the Xandri Dust is A, another one I keep watered down slightly in the pot, and B, another one that just got beautiful coverage, even very thin. Just goes where I want it to. Okay, I'm getting somewhere with this guy now. After blocking out all of the sort of skulls and other colours, I've started with highlights and washes. So as you can see, all the skulls have had a brown wash. I've started trying to highlight some of the tin bits with some of the brass, and it's a little bit, I don't know, it's not as striking as I'd want. I'm not really enjoying painting this figure. It's possibly a little bit too modern Games Workshop style for me. The boots are coming along alright though. I think that's quite a nice colour we've got there. I'm kind of happy with the grey and the black on the cloak. That's working alright. And I've filled in the metal on those damaged parts. I think all that's left is going to be to touch up all the sort of various straps and leather bits across his chest and highlight up the skulls and then finish his axe. To get that nice and dark and black like that, I used the pig iron, and then I used some of this grey contrast as a sort of shade to try and bring down that, so it's a nice dark iron colour. And then I'll use this super bright silver just to pick the edges back up. We can like pick out the skulls again. And now I'm going to just use some like little sort of feathering type actions to try and make this blade look kind of sharpened. And then we've got that contrast between the sharpened bit and the dark, which I think works quite nice. I'm also going to use the bright silver just to try and pick out the studs down the shaft. I'm also using this super bright silver as tiny amounts of highlight on the some of the bronze, just to sort of pick out, just like we just did on top of that arrow there, and then over here, just places where it might get a bit worn. Just add in a bit of this bright silver over the bronze to try and make it look kind of freshly polished. The sort of final highlight. It's quite subtle. I'm maybe not picking up on the camera very well, but it does add to a sort of nice worn look. Okay, I've pretty much finished now. Patch back up a little bit of damage I did to the paint on the cloak while I was painting some other bits. Okay, I'm going to call this guy done. I'm not happy with the paint job, if I'm honest. I've finished up all the bits and pieces now, so I've highlighted the skulls like I said, and we've done some more sort of highlights here and there on the metal. And we've sort of done these sort of tufty bits in sort of stark white because I thought that'd be quite a good colour contrast. And I've popped in a bit of midland flesh and then a wash, and then more midland flesh on top as a highlight for his hands and little bits of his arms. I said I'm not especially happy with the paint job. I think my paint style has somewhat clashed with the sculpt on this one. It's a bit too modern for me, like I said. I still think he looks better, so is the before. So yeah, compared to that, I've definitely improved him. But sometimes paint jobs and projects don't necessarily work out as good as you'd want. So I think he looks alright though. He's certainly tabletop ready. And that's all for this video. Please let me know what you thought down in the comments. Maybe subscribe for more. And as ever, thanks for watching. Bye.